And when you keep on accumulating the use of straw, you're actually accumulating more waste. So I've started avoiding the use of straw. And also when I'm going out, maybe to the supermarket or something, I try to apply the use of reusable bags so I don't keep accumulating nylons. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for that wonderful feedback, Silas. I know many of us can relate when we go out, you buy soft drinks. Gone are those days when Coca-Cola was still glass bottle. I know many of us can relate. Thank you for the new lifestyle you've adopted. Okay, you can unmute your mic, James, and share your feedback with us.
Okay, good evening. Can you
Good
hear
evening. Me? Yes, we can hear you. We'd like to know where you are connecting from.
Okay, I'm connecting from Zaria, Kaduna.
Okay, great. Good to have you on the call today.
Yeah, the challenges have been interesting so far, and the ones that appeals to me that I can recall very fast is the one of daylighting, natural lighting into the space. And why it really appeals to me is that as an architect in training, I adopt this mostly when I'm designing and proposing any design. So seeing it as part of the challenge, it also goes to remind me of the fact of adopting it as a lifestyle, which I've been doing. Like it helps portray the fact that, okay, I've been doing something good. And so seeing it as part of the challenge also helped me. Then on the area of transportation, where I have to walk a little, then use public transportation to reduce the carbon pollution in our environment. Those challenges made sense to me, and it also stood out for me. I know we also have so many other ones, but let me leave it for other people to share their views. But that too stood out for me in the past days.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome, James. And I'm really impressed to hear as you've been able to adopt it to your expertise. Yeah, great. Okay, we have Dorcas, the first female in the house that wants to speak. Okay, Dorcas, you can unmute your mic and speak.
All right. Thank you, sir. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening this evening.
Okay. The one I find more interesting is the one
where you are connecting from.
Okay, I'm not connected from Ife, Ocean State.
Okay, great.
The challenge I find more interesting is the one that has to do with water. Like, the fact that I have to wake up very to water and no portion of water I use during the shower. It's kind of
All right, thank you very much, Dorcas. I believe we can all hear, though there is a bit background audio issue with your voice, but I heard you said the one which appealed to you most is water. Okay, all right, we can have you, Bashir. Hello, Bashir. Would like to have you. I can see your hand up. Oh, where are females? I can see mostly male. Wow. Okay. All right, Abolaji, you can unmute your mic and share your feedback.
Okay. Hi. Good morning. Good evening, everybody. Abolaji is female though, not male. So I just wanted to clear that because most people think Abolaji is male. So, so for me, I would say that it has been more of intentionality. Most of this challenge that we do, all of that that we've done for the past 8 days, are things that I've done. I used to do, but then it's more of I just used to do them as normal things, and then but like with the challenge, I've been more intentional about it, and I've found ways to improve on it. For example, I think using reusable plastic, but reusable bottles. Yes, that particular one. Although I didn't used to take bottled water, but I didn't go everywhere with my own reusable bottles. So I sometimes I have to buy sachet water outside when I go out. So with the challenge, I've been able to, okay, I have to intentionally carry my water bottle out. And so like, yeah, so I fill it up before I leave home and then I use it throughout the day. So that's it for me.
All right, that's a great one indeed. And we are glad to have your feedback. And we are also happy that this has really changed a lot. Okay, we are going to have more of this feedback after our guest is done with his session. I would just like I've seen, okay, all right, that's fine. I think we can have all of that session, all our feedbacks after our guest is done with his session. And like I mentioned, today we are so blessed to have an expert in our midst in person of architect Ola-Olowoyo. And he is the founder of Engage Youth Africa Initiative, a Pan-Africa youth-focused organization with operations in Nigeria, Ghana, and Kenya. He's also the Vice President, Membership and Outreach of the Project Management Institute Nigerian chapter. He is the Managing Director of Casting Crown Company, one of the leading green buildings company and environmental sustainability practitioners in Nigeria. Architect Bola is a versatile architect with experiences in green building design and construction, environmental sustainability, project management, and facility management over 15 years. This evening, we are so glad to have you on this call as you lead the first series of the ECO30 challenge on the topics revitalizing action towards sustainable living practices. Good evening, Architect Bola.
Good evening. Thank you for the introduction. Good evening, everyone, wherever you're joining this session. I'm glad to be here, and thank you for the opportunity to engage with us. Thank you.
Yeah, we are so glad to have you on this call this evening, and we believe you are going to be sharing more insights and sharing your experience. We know that you have vast experience in various aspects of sustainability. And this evening, we'd like to ask some certain questions that has to do with sustainable living practices and some other aspects of sustainability in line to economic, social, and environmental sustainability. But we start with this very first question, that you please share more insight into what it means to live sustainably.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate this. By the way, one of the things I do for living is sustainability. So if you have come across me, if you have crossed my path, you will know that I talk, I breathe, and I relate sustainability as a practitioner. So part of what I'm going to be sharing with you is from a practical sense, not just theoretical knowledge. Yes, at the master's level, I did environmental design management. So I have masters in environmental design management. I've done quite a number of certifications in environmental sustainability and some other special micro credentials with United Nations and all of that. So I'm not talking from those dimensions. What I'll be sharing with you are practical things, looking at what I do and implement every day. So if you're talking about sustainable living, it is not far-fetched from, as simple as your daily chores. How do you coordinate your life activities? Because that's what lifestyle is all about. How do you coordinate your character? How do you coordinate your orientation as a human being? How do you coordinate your entire humanity to conform with the concept of sustainability? Again, what is the meaning of sustainability? It is simply, an attempt to solve the current problem, the current needs of this generation in such a way that the actions we are taking to prefer solution to the current problem does not present or hamper the opportunity for future generations to solve their own inherent problem. Not to confuse us with all this grammar. We all know what the challenge of this current generation is, ranging from the challenge of climate change to bad governance, to economic problem, to social problem, and as well to business problem. all of this problem enveloped within the concept of sustainability. So when you look at the content of SDG goals, Sustainable Development Goals 17, you will discover that it captures all of this human problem. So if you're talking about sustainability, we're not just narrowing down a perspective to climate change action alone. We're talking entirely about human problem. How is our city meant to behave? How is our environment meant to be, defined in such a way that we have the right ambience for the growth of humanity and as well as the environment itself, because we live in a symbiotic environment where we interact daily with the environment. So how you conduct yourself every day to ensure that we create that balance within the ecosystem where we find ourselves, whether you are living in Nigeria, because I could see from this direction that people live in different locations, whether you're in Kano, Kaduna, Abuja, Lagos, Enugu, whichever environment you find yourself, the way you coordinate your behavior every day, that you don't add to the nuisance value of the environment, you don't contribute to the bad governance, all of this encapsulates into the concept of sustainable living.
Thank you very much for that wonderful feedback. And the very first part which caught my attention was the aspect which you mentioned, that you eat and breathe sustainability. Yeah, absolutely. And which is more reason why some of us call you professor. And definitely this is coming to limelight. All right, thank you. I'll also indulge each and every participant. Should you have a question, kindly use the comment section to drop your question, as we are going to pick this question. This is meant to be an interactive dialogue, and it's no more, definitely want to get to learn and share with each other and know more about these sustainable living practices beyond what we do. And even some of us, this, just like someone mentioned that part of these are things she does recent back, but now she's more intentional into it. But if I may ask you, Architect Bolaon, why do you feel these sustainable living practices, cultures, and standards are falling out of places amongst individuals, also even in organizations?
Thank you. One of the things I do, in ensuring best practices in sustainable development is to engage at the level of enterprise development. When I'm talking about enterprise development, engaging organizations, corporations, and firms to adopt sustainability as part of the organizational policies. So you're talking about reforming organizations to comply with best practices in sustainable development and sustainability as it were. Why would people, not want to practice the acceptable standards and policies for sustainable living or for sustainability, either in their organizational operation or in their individual lives? Because it starts from the definition I gave to sustainable living. What you don't practice as an individual, you at best become an hypocrite if you get into an organization simply because you are now a CEO, or simply because you are now a worker that is being paid to do certain things. You become an hypocrite at that level to now begin to do them. So it starts with you yourself as an individual, and what becomes part of you is what you take everywhere you go. Either you're working as an entrepreneur, you have a company you set up, or you're working to drive change or to drive value within an organization. So why would we not want to do this? It goes back to the fact that people don't understand what sustainable development or what sustainability is all about. So they don't adopt it into their personal practice. They don't cultivate the habits. It's not part of their life. It's just like the language you don't understand, you can't speak, and the language you don't speak, you can't communicate with it. So we need to start looking at ways by which we can drive the narratives for people to begin to learn the language of sustainability, so that they can speak sustainability and then they can begin to communicate effectively sustainability. So for those people who are found within the category of not practicing it or doesn't have the culture, or organizations that doesn't have it as part of their culture or policies for practice in the organization, is simply because they don't know it. So there is this education gap, there's this knowledge gap about sustainability. And unfortunately, we are nearing to the end of the 2030 agenda. This is 2027. And the whole process started in 2010 when MDGs was redesigned and redeveloped. The vision was redeveloped into SDGs. And when you look back, looking at how much has been achieved, especially in a country like Nigeria, not so much has been achieved. So it's not just all about, the policies. It's not just all about the formulation of theories, of documents. How much has been domesticated into the practice is the question. People don't practice it. And the reason why they don't practice is because they have not accepted it as value. When you look at what forms the basis of our social norms, what forms the different social orientations and idiosyncrasies of cultures in Nigeria, sustainability is not part of it at all. Pick anyone and dissect it. You will see that all the concepts of sustainability cannot be found in it. Are you talking about lane system? Are you talking about the recycling, the reuse, the recovery? I mean, all of these things are not part of our culture. So it will take a process of education. It will take a conscious effort, okay, to orientate people towards accepting sustainability as a way of life. The second reason is people always have this notion, and honestly, is the first challenge I do encounter engaging companies and private individuals, when it comes to educating them about sustainability. There's this, blind concept. I call it blind because it's more like a mirage. When you're driving on the highway and you look ahead of you during a sunny season, a sunny time during the day, you will see something that forms more like a water over the surface of the road. But the more you approach it, the more the water view disappears. That's a mirage in physics. That is the same way people see sustainability. From outside of the practice, people have this notion that it's expensive. Implementing the concept of sustainability is very expensive and all of that. It is actually a mirage. More so, it is even cheaper to implement sustainable policies when you look at it and on an overall OPEX of a company, operation cost of a company, than when you are not implementing the sustainable practice in organizational practice. So these are some of the things that I feel forms the fundamental reasons why people will not want to. I mean, by the time a businessman sits down and he imagines that I can spend X amount of money not to do sustainable practice, and I can, if I'm going to do sustainable practice, I'm going to spend X plus X amount of money. I mean, people will want to run away because they want profits on the short run, not in the long run. So I guess there's a need for reorientation, aggressive education of people. In fact, I'm looking forward towards when, education about sustainability will be ingrained right from primary school. People will begin to be taught about some of these things that you're doing during this challenge season, this ECO30 challenge. Some of these things are what should be taken back to our education system so that people are aware. That consciousness is created because people are not aware. And what you don't know, you don't know. That's the truth.
What you don't know, you don't know. Absolutely, we need to intensify and accelerate more impact across every sector. And just like you mentioned, that it starts from starting from the education, the grassroots level, the primary school, going to the secondary school, the tertiary education sector. Thank you for these wonderful feedbacks. And we'd like to know you, Architect Bola. So I have some questions, and our participants would like to know more about you. Which will you prefer, a cup of coffee, or a cup of tea? Hello, Architect, are you there?
Yeah, sorry, I was actually muted.
Okay. So we'd like to know more. We like to know more about you and things you do and your favorite. So I asked a question earlier that which of these will you prefer, a cup of tea or a cup of coffee?
Okay, interestingly, I'm not a favorite of either of the two, but yeah.
So
actually,
you like taking water, right?
Absolutely. I mean, water, and probably we will get to that point in the conversation about recycling and all of that. I take more of water than any other liquid. In fact, I don't take pep drinks. I don't take I rarely take coffee. I don't take tea. And if I'm to take coffee for any instance, it will be cappuccino. But I mean, that's once in a blue moon. But you always see me with water.
That's amazing. Amazing indeed. So what's your best color?
Oops. Uh, if I'm to choose, I actually have two, but if I'm to choose sky blue.
Sky blue. Oh, wow, that's awesome. So we prefer to see a movie or visit a gym?
Definitely a movie.
A movie.
I've never entered a gym for any reason before.
For any reason. All right. Okay. You're a fan of which club, architect? Which
As I'm
football?
talking to you, if you had seen me today, I'm sure you wouldn't even, I mean, it won't be a hard guess for you because I'm actually wearing the club I support. And I support the club for one person. I mean, singularly because of one person. Unfortunately, the person is not in the club currently, and I'm hoping he returns back to the club in the next few weeks. And that's
Okay.
Barcelona.
Oh, that's awesome. I was thinking you are going to mention Chelsea being
No, not at all. Chelsea
okay,
annoys me.
okay. Okay, all Barcelona fans, you can connect further with Architect Bola. We that we are not Barcelona fan, we might not need to connect with you. We meet on the pitch. Okay, how do you unwind easily?
Okay. A large part of me, I mean, for those that have, for one reason or the other, have interacted with me, knows that there's an aspect of me that makes me an introvert. So I'm more of a person that, I spend more time with myself. So that makes me an avid reader. So to relax, most times I am always glued to my books. So I read a lot, and I also listen to music a lot. So if I'm not doing anything that's really occupying me, you will either see me reading or listening to music.
That's amazing. That's amazing. All right. Thank you for sharing this information with us. We are glad to know you and we love to connect with you the more. All right. I would just like to say this again. Please, should you have a question, kindly use the comment section to drop your question. We would like to know where you are connecting from and why we prepare to have those questions. Okay, I will also like to ask, just in line to the last question that has to do with people getting to ignore these sustainability practices in their various home and house in their place of work. I want to ask, how can we revitalize or how can we take meaningful action towards a more sustainable future, towards these practices concurrently? How can we revitalize our actions?
Okay, thank you. This is what I preach in practice, and I mean, I can spend the whole day talking about it, but I will just, in a concise form, try to extend the knowledge to my audience today. I'm sure we are all aware about the triangle of sustainability. It's more like going through a jungle, and when you're in a jungle or you're in a maze, you need clues for you to navigate through the jungle or through the maze. So the same thing happens with sustainability triangle. And the first aspect of the triangle, one side talks about the society, the other side talk about environment, and the third side talk about economy. If we want to drive from an aggressive point of view, the knowledge about sustainability, we cannot undermine the effect of these three sides of the triangle. Okay, what are the actions we need to take as regards educating people about the environment? How would people's behavior, their interaction with the environment, impact the environment itself? We said we have a symbiotic relationship with the environment. Are we always taking and taking without giving back? Because these are the fundamentals that should engage our practice and behavior. For instance, we are so used to cutting trees, deforestation, without having at the back of our mind that we should also have, at the same time, the practice of giving back to the environment by reforestation, right? These are what the understanding of the environment and relation with the environment is all about. Then talk about the issue of pollution prevention, talk about the issue of biodiversity, talk about the issue of, all the concepts that are ingrained within the understanding of the environment are things that we need to be, to be taken back into the education system for people to be able to know that these are ways by which they need to engage with the environment for us to be able to have sustainable practice in place. Then you talk about society, everybody is all about, oh, how am I going to make the money? How am I going to, get the best out of relationship? How am I going to improve on my standard of living? And because of the stress that this orientation has placed on us, especially here in this part of Africa, people tend to take advantage of other people in their interaction with people. The first, at a glance, when you meet people, the first thing you want to do is how you're going to take advantage of them to your own interest. And usually it's for bad. Because how will you explain someone who is trying to relate with a female, a male trying to relate with a female, and all that is at his mind is how to take advantage of the person? Okay, it's simply because of some of the education we've had that, women or females are weaker sex, so they are meant to be dominated. All these cultural norms. There has to be a process of changing that mindset. Okay, so that in pursuit of a good standard of living, in pursuit of engaging ourselves with good jobs, in pursuit of driving equality and equity in terms of creating opportunities across board, we won't find it difficult to embrace new concept and new mindset, because all of these are embraced by the concept of sustainability. When you look at SDG goals, these are all the things that are defined in different goals, right?
Yeah.
Then talk about the last one, which is about the economy. We all have responsibility to play. Roles to play. People are talking about this cash crop. Yeah, it's all about CBN. It's all about federal government. They are these, they are bad. Some have even killed themselves in the process. Do you know of a truth? An average citizen in Nigeria has a role they play in contributing to the growth of our economy. Responsibly, we have you can't wake up early in the morning and you are not doing anything. And at the end of the day, you are thinking you want to grow the economy for you to take benefit from it. It doesn't work like that. So the question you have to ask yourself every day, which should form part of our behavior, part of our cultural orientation, is the fact that, what am I contributing to the growth of Nigeria's economy, to the GDP? As simple as, do you pay your tax? Do you pay your tax? People have 1,001 reasons why they don't pay taxes. And yet they earn income. I'm telling you, because they feel they are working within the informal sector of education. Economy. Maybe they are not within the formal sector. You are not working in a private organization where it is an outlaw or it is against the law for you not to remit taxes, either personal tax or income tax. But as a tailor, as someone who is working on farms, as an entrepreneur, do you remit taxes? Do you pay your taxes? No matter how small or little it is. It starts from there. That's how the behavior transforms into it. Because when you look at these three sides, they also relate with one another. They have a way where they intersect. The economy intersects with the environment. And that's why we have something we call environmental economies, where you talk about energy efficiency, you talk about green technology, you talk about green economy, you talk about ocean economy, you talk about renewable energy and all of that. They intersect. So if you have not been playing your role in either of these two sides, there is no way you can create value within that intersection. The same thing with society and environment. We have something we call societal environmental responsibilities. How are you going to be responsible as a citizen of Nigeria, dutifully obeying all the environmental laws? I don't know how many of us heard about the death of a dog. I think it was sometime last month here in Lagos. In an estate, a dog, I think he wandered into someone else's compound, and there were a lot of ulabu about the dog. Eventually, there was an announcement that they should kill the dog. They shot the dog, and the dog died. Through an excruciating pain. You can imagine that kind of horror. See, because we are interacting with animals, we don't even understand what kind of conservation policies have been put in place that makes animals also have a right. You know, to make us establish environmental justice within our interaction, because that intersect of the society with the environment spells out all these things. How many of us even know animal law, about animal law in Nigeria? So if we are thinking that we are responsible citizens, our responsibility is not full enough until we have known everything that it entails to be a responsible citizen by knowing all these policies. There was a day I was engaging people in my estate where I live about incineration. I mean, it's so bad that even educated people don't know that there is Environmental Protection Agency law, hacked for that matter, in domiciled. I mean, you have the national one and you have the ones that are domiciled within each state. That people, I mean, it spells out penalties for anyone that contravenes any of this law, even up to people being imprisoned. And here you will see some people going about incinerating, burning bushes, burning papers, and all of that. So I had to take it upon myself, stand up in one of the estate meetings to educate people, to show them you have to get a copy of this law. I mean, hacked, engage yourself with it. So that one day you won't see that I will call the environmental protection agencies to come and arrest people and jail them. And you'll be saying, oh, my neighbor doesn't care and all of that. Your neighbor cares. That is why he's taking this action. So these are some of the things that we need to begin to do. You know, we need to help each other. Otherwise, we'll be having more nuisance in the environment. We'll be having more vagabonds. We'll be having, I mean, people that the contributions they are making to the society, the contributions they are making to the economy is doing more harm than good. And those harms will definitely be reaching us in one way or the other.
You are shaking some tables. Indeed, absolutely. It's a call to action for every one of us. And I'm going to ask this question, and it has to do with the practices which we've all engaged in. We know that we have various sustainable living practices. You just mentioned one about tax payment, which should not just be for government workers or companies alone. Even individuals too should pay tax. And if I may ask, which of these sustainable living practices, like the ECO30 challenge, we have a specific lifestyle or habit that has been designed for each day, but based on your own expertise and experience in the field of sustainability, which practices will you recommend people to adopt the most? You can tell us like 3 to 5 briefly and tell us why you really want people to go with this.
Okay, thank you. In a way, someone who relates more with data. I mean, all my life, I mean, I work with a lot of data in everything I do. So I don't just dabble into things without having relatable data. Okay, so in this wise, I will just share some of the things I'm personally engaged with that I feel will be able to help all my listeners or the audience. Number one, when you look at the data that is being read out concerning sustainable lifestyle, by 2025, okay, about 1.8 billion people in the world. I'm sure we all know the current population of the world, which is put at about 7 billion. So 2 out of every 7 people will be living in shortage of water by 2025. 2025 is just about 2 years away. So when you put 7 people together, out of the 7 people, 2 people will be without water. What does that imply? I mean, for data analysts, that means that we need to start thinking strategically with an aggression how to conserve water and reduce the consumption of water. There is a lot of water wastage. I mean, it gets me so pissed off when I see the way people interact with water usage simply because they feel that it's a free gift of life. Anybody can go and just sink borehole and then you have free water. You know, so because of that, you can just waste water. You see some people, their faucets are bad. They don't have the inclination that they're supposed to repair it immediately without wasting water. Some people, the kind of faucet they've installed, when I'm talking faucet, I'm talking about taps, the kind of taps they use at home. The amount of water they waste is exponentially more than the water they even use. Like you want to shower, for instance, you went to go and install mighty shower. At the end of the day, you spend just few minutes or few seconds. For some of us, I mean, some people like me that even detest standing in the shower. You know, you just quickly spend some, but the water you will have wasted before you step out. Some will have even horned the tap down, wasting water before they step into the shower to have their bath. You know, I mean, these are appalling. These are appalling. And we all need to relate with data to let us know that we need to be our brother's keeper. The more water you waste, the more you are putting people in danger of not having access to water. That is the implication. So we need to start developing, and, you know, it's a conscious effort, it's an intention. We have to intentionally, you know, deliberately cultivate the habit to ensure that we conserve water, the way we consume water. And just almost about a decade ago, that's when I decided within me that I'm not going to consume any water other than bottled water, because you will agree with me that bottled water is very precise, is measured. I know the amount of liters of water I take every day. So I go around with my bottle, and when I'm at home, I'm with my bottle, and I can easily manage the disposal of that bottled water. If you come to my house, you see heaps, and you see, I mean, I even have a store where I keep all of these things so that I don't just trash them. And until when we cyclers, I don't know, for as many of us who are familiar with Lagos, we have a number of collectors who take it to their factory to recycle. So I have a connect with one of them. So they always come every month to come and collect, and then they convert, they monetize it, because when they compress it in kg, there's an amount of money that they will pay you in kg. I mean, I've developed this intentionally. So I'm converting this through my practice, through my behavior, into something that can earn me money. And you know the interesting thing, such behavior is infectious. Now my wife has been infected with it. She knows in my house that once you finish using the bottle of water, you don't dispose it. You keep it in the room, the particular room that's been designated for collection. So I have a collection point in my house. My kids know, they take it there. So I mean, this is how to cultivate the habit. In my car, if you've entered my car before, you will know that I have bottles of water, because anybody that enters my car and drinks water, you don't throw it out. You keep it in the car, and I collect it, drop it in my collection point in the house. You know, so this is the first thing that we need to do. Be intentional and cultivate the habit. The other one talks about energy conservation. In fact, one of my core area in the discipline is about energy management. As an architect, I don't just go about designing house. That is why I'm a green building architect. I'm certified with EDGE. I'm a faculty with EDGE, and also a faculty with WELS. For as many of us who are familiar with green building system, certification system, we have WELS, we have LEED, we have EDGE. EDGE is owned by World Bank under the auspices of International Finance Corporation. Okay, so I have all these certifications and I practice them. I help people amplify their energy conservation within the building operation. Okay, so it's something that we need to consciously develop. Why should you always put on your light when you don't need? I mean, during the day, you see some people using the fluorescent light or putting on their lights. I mean, why should you do that? It's not that you have high defects or you are suffering from one high range and all of that. You go to some offices, you see them, the horn light, ultra. I mean, people that relate with me know some of these things. I don't condone wastage when it comes to energy use. You know, you have to help people, because some people, I mean, they don't know about it. Even you see professors misbehaving when it comes to energy use. It doesn't mean because they are professors or they are doctors, then they should know how to use energy, how to interact with energy. No, you have to teach them, you have to educate them, because it's not their discipline. I mean, it's not part of their training. They don't know. So part of what we need to do is to start developing the attitude towards energy conservation and proper energy management, so that we begin to adopt ways by which we don't engage in energy. Energy wastage. Then the third one talks about being environmental responsible. I think I've overemphasized that. You know, if you come to my house, one of the things I take pride of, in fact, much more than staying outside, I love staying in my house, because the ambience is more like a garden. I have trees, I have flowers. I mean, I have greenery around myself. And it's a conscious effort. It's a conscious effort. It starts from little intentions. I mean, it's not like I have to spend a whole fortune for me to be able to have this kind of ambience around me. When every other person are complaining about, oh, the house is hot, in a hot season, I'm always happy. Because all I need to do is just to get to my house and stay around my flowers and stay around my trees. I'm okay. You know? So, I mean, it's as simple as that. And those who cannot afford it, say because of the environment you are living in or area where you are staying, you can have potted plants in your house. I mean, there is something we call the psychological behavior of human being interacting with spaces in architecture. That is why when we're designing, we consider all of these things. There's a way human being interact with spaces that brings proper function and definition to spaces. I mean, there is an emotion that is attached to living in spaces that makes some spaces livable and unlivable, as it were. These are all the things, even in terms of the use of color. There's some houses you get to, you will see how weird it is. You want to just throw off. Throw off.
Absolutely.
You know, because of colors. I mean, these are intentions that we need to take. Some colors attract heat. Like when you have deep colors, you have all those secondary colors. When you have them painted around your house, you are pulling more heat. I mean, you'll be gaining more heat inside the space. These are some of the things that people need to be educated about. So when you see people living in White House, it's not just because they want to be living in a White House. There's a meaning to it. I mean, I don't think I've ever even stayed in a place that is not painted white. If it's not painted white, when I move in there, I will paint it white. And I always have white paint reserved in my office because my environment must always be white. If you come to my office, everywhere is white. If you come to my house, everywhere is white. I mean, it's an intention. So these are some of the things that we need to go all out of our ways to begin to do because we know the implication if you don't do them. You know, it starts from there. And also the way we carry out our house chores. Some people are extremely dirty. Oh my God. Some people are extremely dirty. When you see them, you can easily tell. I mean, you have to come out of that dirty mode. Some people were raised like that, so you don't blame them. Maybe because they were raised in Ajegunle, so they must always behave like Ajegunle people. Or they were raised in Osha, so all their life, even if you put them in Banana Island, they will still want to behave like Ajegunle people. For crying out loud. Nobody needs to know how you were brought up. Nobody needs to, what people want to relate with what your life is all about now. And you can have a redefinition for your life. We've seen people come out of slums and they become presidents. They become leaders of global corporations. I mean, you don't need to remain who you have always been. This should be a challenge to you. If you used to be, if you are a dirty person, if you are someone who is so comfortable with living in a dirty environment, you don't care whether you even have proper refuse disposal and all of that. You need to have a clean environment, sparkling clean environment for you to be able to drive the concept of sustainability. And when people see, because people, I mean, these things resonate with people. When they come and they see your environment, they want to ask you questions, and that will open up conversation for you to educate people. Let me stop here.
All right, you are just checking some tables. I can see a comment from Olumide that mentioned Ajegule and the sticker. Okay, and also a comment from Missy that my kids knows me and I am always complaining when they leave the lights on or waste water. Yeah, I can relate. And I believe many of us too can relate. And even though we know that there is a need for education, for we to educate people to get more aware about these sustainable living practices. But we also have to take conscientious efforts and be very deliberate towards these practices. And just like what someone gave a feedback that we have to be intentional and we also have to be very disciplined about this. Sustainability is not just a mere word. Like I'm going to quote someone that defines sustainability like your ability to sustain. And that ability to sustain has to be backed with discipline and with very good intention. Right about now, I would just like to throw it open to our participants. Would you like to ask a question or give a comment before we end today's session? This session is meant to be an hour, but definitely our speaker has been really engaging and dishing out various points this evening. If you'd like to ask a question directly, please kindly signify by raising your hand, or you can use the comment section to ask your question. Okay, I can, James, can you unmute your mic and ask your question in 30 seconds?
Okay, good evening. Thank you, sir. My question is for an architect. I'm an architect in training, so I want to ask a licensed architect. You have an idea and you are intentional about designing sustainable buildings or trying to make your clients understand the benefits of having a sustainable building. And most clients, once they see something abroad or they see something online, that's what they want to build. And you understand that part of sustainability is designing in response to climate and using materials that are easily sourced around that area. But they are, since they are the one paying you for the service, they insist on this is what they want. So in practice, I believe you might have faced something like this. How do you tackle this to make sure the clients understands that you are trying to help the client to achieve better value for his money with his desire of having what he has seen online or what he has seen abroad, maybe travel abroad, and wants you to do that because he's the one paying you for that services. So that's my question. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, James. So I've been practicing for almost about 15 years now. So whatever I'm going to tell you, you need to take it hook, line, and sinker. Number one, I mean, I didn't just start and assume or just jump up to this point. It's a almost 15 years journey, right? So starting out wasn't easy. I mean, I can tell you this for free. You will definitely meet clients who are even disposed to explain it to you as though engaging you as an architect, they are doing you a favor, right? Some, it will even be because of relationship. That's why they're engaging you to carry out a project or a design for them. So you need to understand the dynamics of, handling such relationship. I mean, we call it stakeholder management when it comes to project management. How do you handle communication effectively with such client in such a way that you still have your win-win, right? So if you don't have, it's a past skill. If you don't have it, you don't have it. So the fact that you know how to design, you know all of these rhetorics, does not mean that a client will always have a buy-in. So how do you get the buy-in of a client on the measures or the strategy you're trying to sell to him, which will enable you to have a proper practice as a sustainability practitioner? So that's number one. The other one is, see, you can't always have your way, especially in this kind of society where we find ourselves. Some people will intentionally initiate a project simply because they want to adversely create problems. I mean, there are people like that. I've encountered them in my journey. All they just want to do is to cause trouble. They want to do projects that will cause trouble. Their intention is not to add value, is not to solve any problem. You know, the simple thing to do in such a way, you should know that you can't be part of that. I mean, I have to make it as an intention. I have one or two friends who are here who are joining us. I mean, these are part of what we discuss from time to time in practice. It's not all projects you can do. You can't please all human beings. So the first thing you have to learn pretty much early in your practice is how to learn to say no to people. It doesn't, I mean, sometimes people will not take it lightly with you. They won't take it with pleasure. It might sound rude or hard, or some people will even tell you are proud. But the truth of the matter is it's for your own sanity. So learn to say no to people that want to commit you to do sacrilegious things that are not in compliance with what you have sworn to. That's why I told you that I don't do any other thing other than green building. Any clients I want to design for that will not buy into the concept of sustainability, then I know it's not my project.
Okay.
So sorry, you look for another architect that can do it for you. But it's a journey. It's not something I just arrived at one day. People must have seen your success story. Your profile must prove that. When you submit a portfolio to a client, they must see that that is what you are all about. Okay, so that when you are now having the narrative for them, you have a basis. Not that you are telling them about sustainability and even your life does not show it. As simple as your disposition is showing dirtiness. So how will someone believe in you? So
okay,
you have to show it.
Just want us to quickly wrap up. We have very few minutes to end today's session, and it's been an engaging and insightful one with you indeed. We have one more question from Innocent. Innocent, please, can you ask your question in less than 30 seconds? I would like to know where you're connecting from and your question.
Yeah, hello. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening this evening, sir.
Yeah, my name is Innocent Effiong. I'm calling from, joining this meeting from FCT Abuja. So my question, it has been a wonderful discussion and, conversation going on since we started this meeting. My question is on environmental justice. So I want to ask, how do we strengthen the rule of law in order to have a strong and effective environmental justice? Because most times we see a lot of legal practitioners, most of them are not in this space of climate issue. So it's really making the environmental process very difficult because so many people are not aware.
Yeah, okay.
Yes,
all right.
So how can we strengthen it? Let me just put that question. How can we strengthen our rule of law in order to have an effective environmental justice? Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Innocent, for that wonderful question. And there's another question from Issei. I believe it's just a call, which we also have to see to. We have one of the program manager on this call in person of Esther Babatunde. And in Oyo State, we have, our question is related to recycling organizations that pick up waste, bottles, nylons, papers. And we know that we have this organization across states in Nigeria and also some other countries. These are things we will try as much as possible to collect. All right, right now, please, architect, I will just appreciate you briefly attend to that question and also give your closing thoughts as regards today's theme. Over to you, sir.
Okay, so the first thing you need to do is to identify the communities that exist. And you have a number of existing advocacy community in Nigeria that works on environmental rights and environmental justice. I mean, they advocate for that. You have the ERA, there's a FEMRAD, there's a CPEG. I'm sure when you go online, okay, if you go on LinkedIn as well, you will find some of these associations or communities that advocate for environmental justice and or generally climate justice. In fact, you even have the one they call social action of Nigeria or social action. You can be part of those community and then also volunteer to whatever the vision or the activity of that association is. Some of them are even institute for lawyers or African practitioners in law and all of that. Then about the question asked by EC, yes, you can always reach out to me. I will connect you with recyclers so that depending on your location, they can also put you on their schedule for collection because they have a factory in Ogun State where they do recycling of bottles, plastic bottles. I think that's all the question, right?
Yes, absolutely. Though what we are going to do on our own part is we'll try as much as possible to get across with our network in other states and see how we can pull out this organization. We know that in Oyo State, we have Mutenia Recycling, and we have another one in Osun State. I'm going to confirm the name, and also in the southeastern part and the northern part. If at all we can have from different geopolitical zones, it will be so good. Okay, I believe it's been a wonderful session and a great value for our time this evening. And really, sincerely, you've indeed loaded us, even though you shake some tables as well. Right about now, okay. Innocent, your question has been answered, except you asked another question. Your question has been answered. All right, architect will appreciate you give your closing thoughts as regards the topic which we are focusing on, and this you can as well relate to how people can get to sustain and get committed even beyond these 30 days of the Sustainable Living Challenge.
Okay, just a simple advice. Change is a process, but the process of change starts with you. And the action of the process is consequence of what you do every day. So you need to watch your behavior because your behavior becomes you. So you have to be observant of everything you do. I mean, it's not just only by your speech. You know, your action speaks louder than your speech. I mean, be a man of little words, be a man of action, and let people see that you are all about sustainability in your little way. I mean, as simple as advocating for planting trees, advocating for, I mean, waste disposal. People don't just throw waste anyhow or dispose pet bottles. Sometimes when I'm driving and I see people throwing things out of the, I mean, I still did it 2 days ago in traffic. People traveling out of Lagos and throwing things out of the window. I mean, jokingly, I just like, clean Lagos. And they all laugh. They say, oh, sorry, sorry. I mean, it's as simple as that. That's the process of education. I'm sure next time if such a person wants to take such action again, he would think twice. So I'm advising everyone to cultivate intentionally this attitude. In the long run, we are going to be changing our world for good. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this closing thought. We really appreciate you. And just like you mentioned, that we really need to watch our behavior as it becomes what we do in our daily lifestyle. Dear participants, I believe it's been a great value for our time this evening. And quickly, before we end today's session, we just like to share one or two information. And sincerely, we so much appreciate our guest today in person of Architect Bola. We so much appreciate the knowledge you've shared with us and the experience which you've also shared with us. Thank you so much. We look forward to see you, to have you in one of our series again. And before we end today's call, please, I would like to inform us that the tracking and evaluation form is very important, as this is going to be what is being used to measure our participation all through the 30 days of the Sustainable Living Challenge. And it's been so easy, whereby you can get to feel it daily or weekly. If you are going to feel it, it's going to be a day like today. That's if you are doing weekly. And if you want to do it daily, you can do that in the morning or in the evening at your very convenient time. And let me also inform that at the end of this challenge, we are hoping to have 30 winners that are going to have a particular gift. Well, that's not yet to be disclosed yet, but definitely we are going to be having the ECO30 winners. And also, this series is meant to hold every Saturday, same time and same platform for now, except if we are going to switch to LinkedIn, but hopefully we'll be using the Zoom platform for now. We hope to have each and every one. Please, let's endeavor to invite other participants, as these are information that are going to change their perspective and their lifestyle. I believe it's been a wonderful session this evening. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining. Thank you to our guests and to the entire program, the project managers of ECO30 Sustainable Living Challenge. Thank you for the amazing work you've been doing back to back. Really appreciate your effort. We hope to connect with you virtually next week, Saturday, same time, same platform. Have a wonderful Easter and Ramadan activities ahead.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, host.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. We look forward to have you next week. Good night.
Good evening, everyone. Good night.
Good night. Good night.